Good afternoon and welcome to the fourth in a series of Snap Learning sessions today with Family Business United. I'm delighted to be joined this afternoon by the CEO of People Puzzles, Ally Maughan, who's going to share us a little bit of insight in how you make the most of your staff and how you can engage more with your staff in this hopefully post-pandemic period as we all start to grow and return to a slightly new normal. So Ally, good afternoon.
Hi there, how are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. So let me hand over to you to start, and I look forward to being engaged in terms of how we can make the most of our teams.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, just to kick us off, I just wanted to tell you who I am. So I'm Ally, I'm the founder and the CEO of People Puzzles. We're a business that's this year, and we provide risk-free, affordable access to HR superstars. So we're all about helping businesses to grow, to scale, to increase profits, to hit financial targets, and to be around for the long term. And we work with a lot of family businesses as well as non-family businesses, so a complete range.
And I guess from your perspective then, you've seen a lot of change in the last couple of months in terms of families that have either had to change, deal with furlough, pivot, change, make redundancies, the whole picture. So what's it been like from your perspective in terms of the way that family firms are responding?
Well, I guess when we're talking about change, I mean, this is the weirdest example of any period I think any of us have lived through. And I think it's always useful to just take a quick look back at the classic change curve and the emotions that we have experienced, both as businesses and as individuals. Yeah. And I mean, I sometimes sit and I think, just remember what January was like before all of this happened, and look where we are now. And I definitely have a sense, I mean, nearly every family business that I've been speaking to has taken advantage of the furlough scheme, as have other businesses. It has really been a lifesaver during this really difficult period. And I think the thing that really strikes me about this period of change is that that is the classic change curve: denial, shock, anger, you know, and we go through to acceptance. But actually it hasn't quite been like that, has it? It's been a little bit more like this. And we've started one bit of change and then the next bit and then next bit, and so we feels like we're going through different emotions about different periods of our life at the same time. And what before maybe was business in one box and family in the next box has become a complete mishmash of everything in our lives happening all at once and all over each other. So no wonder businesses and individuals are reeling and wondering what on earth is coming next.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think we've seen the same in terms of the families and in terms of the decision-making process. And you've got business owners that have got a business that's been around for generations and it's been their family treasure for years. And then they're having to respond to not only the COVID scenario, but also having to deal with staff issues with people that are often friends too. So how are these business owners, how have they responded?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, and it's, I mean, it's been difficult, right? You're a business owner, I'm a business owner. And I think that, you know, approaching it with our honesty and our sincerity and the values that we've had for ages is really important. But what I wanted to share with you, I've just got to sort of 5 areas of focus right now. And I think it's a really interesting quote that I just read this week. When people don't feel safe, supported, or emotionally secure, they simply cannot do their jobs properly. And here are my 5 areas of focus. So the first one is around uncovering and fixing tricky people issues. So whether that is furlough or unfortunately redundancy, or whether it's looking one step above that at the organisation as a whole to say, are we fit for purpose for the next period of time? Do we actually need to reorganise and restructure and have a look at the whole way we function? And actually, I would definitely recommend doing that. It doesn't often work to sort of pick a few job roles off round the sides. It often works much better to review the whole organisation. And actually, sometimes, particularly in a family business, that can mean some really difficult and significant decisions because you just can't always keep everybody on. Or the world might have changed and the skills you needed before you don't need in the future, or you need different ones. So there can be reasons for a restructure that are nothing to do with like just shrinking, but can be to do with the next step. Then we've got all of those issues for people around anxiety and social distancing and whether they feel safe coming back to work. And the main thing about that is it's so time consuming. You just can't treat everybody the same. And everybody needs a conversation with their manager about how they're going to work next week and next month and next year. And that is just a level of time that we haven't spent in conversation, I don't think, with many of our team. We've never seen that before. So that's the first one. The second one is about how we support people through change, the change curve. And the one constant is that we're going to be continuing to be in change. And, you know, we don't know whether there's going to be a second wave or whether we're going to settle into a gradual continuing to go back to work. But even that looks really different to how it looked just sort of 4 short months ago. Then there's always got to be a focus on enabling high performance and productivity. And I think sometimes in very long established and very sort of stable family businesses, sometimes this can be something that the laser focus on it drops off a little bit, and it can become easy to be such a family environment that you sort of accept like different people not performing as they should or functions not being completed properly. And in a time of economic difficulty and recession, actually there's that laser focus on things being done really well, really efficiently, and with high productivity. And we're going to need to do more with less. So how do we do that and enable our teams to really get on board with the big picture and come on that journey with us? Then there's our own personal leadership skills. And I don't think I've talked to a single CEO who hasn't recognized that they need more development and more skills and things that they don't have very, you know, areas where they need more help. So, you know, those lovely words like resilient and adaptable and flexible that we've been talking about for ages, well, suddenly they feel brought more sharply into focus. And, you know, even being tech savvy, I was just having a conversation with this at People Puzzles. We employ a lot of people who've had very long careers, and sometimes they turn up and think they don't need to embrace new tech. And we all know from the last 4 months that that is just not true anymore. If you can't get to grips with doing things in a different way, you're not as useful to the business. And then finally, that area of how we communicate brilliantly with the whole team. You know, whether we've got people on a factory floor or people working from home or mobile, well, maybe less mobile at the moment, but people all over the place, different locations, doing different types of jobs. They all need to hear the same consistent message from us, but in a massive variety of different ways. So if you don't have a communications framework and you aren't looking at what your team are hearing from you at the moment, then you are not enabling them to sort of stay with you, stay aligned and stay motivated. And that, you know, so much of engagement is around communication and connectedness, and it's absolutely more important now than ever.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, actually. And I think the 5 points are all very valid, but I think communication has to be key. Some of the really successful family firms that we've been talking to have had their CEOs sending out video calls to all their 1,000 staff every week over the pandemic. And I think that's really powerful, because actually you've got people on furlough that you say are really important to you, but actually so don't ignore them. So that whole communication piece has become more and more important, and the whole technology has really helped. I think some master the art of communicating better than others too.
But I've noticed it's changing. So at the beginning of furlough, people would log on every week to hear a message from the CEO. I don't think they're doing that in the same way now. So
No.
what was working is now not working. And are we just still churning it out in the same way? Or are we finding, I think it's difficult, there's no easy answers to this, but are we still making the same efforts that we made at the beginning? Now things are feeling like they've turned the corner. And the biggest challenge, I think, is just imagine someone who's been on furlough for 4 months and you're getting ready to bring them back. Well, they have missed a lot, and their colleagues have worked really hard in that 4 months and are probably a bit exhausted. So we've got a lot more challenge to come.
Yeah, I'd agree. And actually managing that dynamic in the workplace must be a tricky challenge going forward.
Yeah, definitely. So look, let me just, I'm not going to go through this in great detail and we'll send this out, but how do we communicate change well? Because it is tricky. So just some sort of bullet points. Have a great business case and be ready to explain it. Be ready to consult and be clear about the major milestones of the change. Be really clear about what's not changing and make sure that you've got that strategy, because people need to hear things a lot. And then once you're prepared, move with speed. It's particularly if you're doing restructuring and redundancies, you can't just let those things rumble on and on and on. You need to get on with it and then get the new normal in as quickly as possible. So it means loads of consultation. And as I said, getting into the new frame of mind as quickly as you can.
And I guess from a family business perspective, finding time to focus on strategy is always a challenge. And what we're talking about now is more of a marketing communications and an HR perspective. And some business owners just don't have the time. But actually focusing on a good people strategy is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, and for me, all of this stuff sits within how we treat our people all the time. And actually, some of it is about planning it out. Some of it you're just doing naturally and organically. So I think, here's the way that we describe it at People Puzzles. You've got two really transformational elements of your people strategy. One is about your leaders, and that is every level through the organization, but how those people are working together, how they're communicating the vision and the values, and how they are leading the business forward. And then the culture piece. And I think in family businesses, there's probably a more stable and sort of longer reaching culture that maybe people can articulate a bit better. But then the question is raised, like, is the culture that we've had for the last 10 years exactly what we want it to be for the next 10 years, or do we need to influence it and shape it? I mean, just thinking back to what I said earlier around maybe some family businesses don't have as laser a focus on productivity as maybe some other businesses. That's a very arguable statement. There's going to be a big range out there, but actually if you sit there now and say, do we have the right culture to succeed in today's climate, you might want to do some quite proactive work around shifting that for the future. So we see those as quite transformational parts of a people strategy. But then it is no less important to get your talent right. And that means finding great people, keeping them, training them, developing them, getting your organizational structure right. And this is one that we are seeing businesses really examining and reshaping at the moment. And there's some really important steps that you should go through when you're redesigning your organization, and it has to hang off the business strategy as it does in this diagram. And then getting your people processes right. So yes, you may need to make some redundancies, and if you go and do it in a way that undermines your culture and your values and the way you've treated people for the last 5 years, your existing staff are going to watch that, and you're going to just breed distrust in your organization because you're not treating people in the way that you normally do. So actually all of this change sits in that context of making sure that you're thinking about where do we need to be today in our people strategy, but how does that stretch forwards? And I would say, even if you're short on time, you could take a good stab at doing some work on this just in a couple of hours. I mean, yes, at People Puzzles, we love to do a diagnostic, and that would normally take about 2 or 3 days. But making sure you don't drop any of these 5 really important elements of the people strategy off. And that's what we see all the time. People just sort of maybe forgetting about a couple of these and focusing on the ones that maybe they're good at.
Yeah, and I guess as well, with the whole way that we're working and the changing way that people are going to work, and some working remotely and from home for the longer term, then actually managing your people in these processes are really important in terms of engaging on a regular basis with everybody, so they sort of feel part of your business, your teams, and everything else. So we shouldn't turn off what many have been doing over the last couple of months, but as you say, evolve it over time and make sure it's still fit for purpose for the business now.
Yeah, and for me, a really key one of those is how we manage and lead people, because we've never had to cope with this level of home working before in the UK. And as you said, it is continuing, and some of it's going to be the new normal, and many people are going to work at home in the future a lot more than they have done. We just can't operate in an environment where we're not good at setting KPIs or whatever you want to call them, measuring people's performance, making sure people are doing a good job, and that they're doing it in a way that's aligned with the business strategy. That is absolutely key to run a successful business. So that does require rethinking and retraining and innovation. You can't just stop doing it because we're all at home for a while.
No, and I guess there's lots of opportunity in there as well in terms of you as for business owners actually managing their people, because it's all about productivity and what people deliver. And I'm not saying that people sit in their offices and don't do anything, but there's lots of downtime, which is all about building the culture in the organisation, but cups of tea and time by the photocopier and lunches and things, where actually people aren't doing that. So it's also about managing the health and well-being of your staff who are remote that may need a little bit more support going forward. And so there's a change, isn't there, in just in terms of the underlying essence of who we are as businesses and how we deal with our people.
Yeah, and that, we've seen through COVID that there's been a massive impact on people's mental health, and a need for more eyes on well-being and helping people to live more balanced and healthy lives. And that's got to be built into how we operate as a business as well, because otherwise we are, again, undermining our culture and values that say we support and want to help our teams.
Yeah, so it's all part of a bigger piece as well in terms of where the business is going, and we can't underestimate the role that people have to play in the development and evolution of businesses going forward.
Yeah.
you spend a lot of time working with families. I know that families in business and people and getting under the skin of these businesses around the country. And I know you've got an offer and you're happy to talk to our members and people that are listening to us today to try and help them with any challenges they have, which obviously they can see on the screen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we love talking to family businesses. Of course, there's all those challenges around succession, but that might be a longer term piece. And actually, it's about getting fit for doing great business today, getting your people all aligned, doing the right thing, right people in the right seats, doing the right kind of work. And we'd be really happy to have a 30-minute call, as you can see here, to discuss any of this stuff around developing a people strategy for the future or coping with the fallout of COVID. And that offers to anybody with a team of more than 20 people.
No, that's fantastic. And I know that will be taken up by some of the people out there, because actually they need to talk to people that know what they're doing and actually can offer different perspectives. And one of the great things from what you do is that you see lots of different businesses and different approaches, so you can bring that back to the table.
Yeah, lovely.
Brilliant. Ally, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you for your time today. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. And keep safe.
You too. Thanks, Paul.
Take care.
Bye-bye.